So here's a quiz. What do the Dalai Lama, Paddington Bear, and Oprah Winfrey have in common, at least with respect to conflict? So it turns out that each of them has the concern for accommodation as their preferred or default conflict style.
Really?
In an earlier video, I discussed the 5 common conflict styles from the TKI assessment, the Thomas Kilmann Management of Differences exercise. Now, if you are interested in learning about these styles, be sure to check out that video after this one. But today, we're going to take a deeper dive into the accommodating tendency in negotiation. First, I'm going to remind you about what we mean by accommodating when it comes to conflict styles. After that, I will offer some advice on when you might consider using an accommodating approach. That is, what are the advantages of it? Third, I will offer some advice on how to maximize those advantages, but also how to manage the weaknesses. That is, there are some disadvantages that you need to adjust for. And stick to the end, because there I'll discuss on how to negotiate with people who are accommodators. I'm Bob Bordone. I'm a senior fellow at Harvard Law School. I'm the founder and former director of Harvard's Negotiation and Mediation Clinical Program, and I'm the founder and principal of the Cambridge Negotiation Institute. Okay, so as we dig into this session, I want to remind you, the TKI assessment reminds each of us that we are never just a single conflict style. Instead, the instrument helps you understand your tendencies. That is, at certain times you are more likely to demonstrate a particular behavior. So, what does the accommodating style look like? So according to the TKI assessment, accommodators are people who put a high value on maintaining relationships and getting along, so much so that at times they sacrifice their own interests in order to preserve that relationship. Accommodators tend to be people who care a lot about other people, but they're very different from avoiders. So accommodators will work hard to preserve a relationship. They dig in on relationship issues. But they might not dig in as much on a substantive issue. An avoider, on the other hand, tends to avoid both the relationship issues and the substantive issues. So with that quick reminder, let's talk about some of the advantages of this approach. So some of the times when you ought to use it. First of all, accommodators are really good at expressing empathy. They're really good at listening. They're really good at building the relationship. When you need to preserve and build relationships with others, this is an approach to use. In addition, accommodators tend to be what we call pro-social. So if you are in an industry where reputation matters, or when you are paired on a team with someone who is more competitive, having an accommodator working with you can be really helpful. Now, clearly there are some downsides to being an accommodator, and we've mentioned some. There is this higher likelihood that you will get taken advantage of on the substantive issues. So what that means is working hard to disentangle relationship issues from substantive ones. In the book Getting TS, there's a famous phrase called focus on the problem, not the person. So what that means, it's really a reminder that you can be kind, generous, accommodating with the relationship, but also that substantive issues, you should be really tough on that problem. So one hint here, if you tend to be an accommodator, you need to pay attention. If you do something generous for the other side, see if they reciprocate that. And if they don't reciprocate that, what you want to avoid is getting wound up and thinking, oh my gosh, I must have made a mistake, this is all my fault, right? Chances are it's actually not your fault. Chances are there's something going on with them. Last thing to remember in terms of avoiding weaknesses here is that at times someone in business is going to come at you very strong. And when they're doing that, it's not necessarily because they don't care about the relationship. It's simply because in their mind, they're being tough on the issues. So an analogy that I use, right? I might play a game of pickup basketball with you, and I might be really tough on the court. And then a half an hour later, I might be having a beer with you. So the fact that both of us are tough on the court is not an indictment or an assessment of the relationship. So remember, relationship issues are different from substantive ones. So lastly, a bonus here. Let me give some advice if you are negotiating with someone or in a conflict with someone who tends to demonstrate this accommodating approach. First, and importantly, and maybe obviously, it's really important to honor the relationship. So start with small talk. It has a purpose. Use active listening. The other thing you want to do is avoid taking advantage of their kindness in a relationship. When you are negotiating with them, you want to use phrases like, I really want to make sure we're tough on this problem, and also I really care about the relationship. So signaling to them that caring about the relationship really makes a difference. So I'm going to ask you now to help me build my relationship with you. You can do that by liking this video, ringing the bell, and subscribing to my channel. Also, be sure to continue watching this playlist on the 5 conflict styles. I'm Bob Bordone, and thanks for watching. Okay, it's not difficult to keep watching. Click, click.